So, I say to you, good morning, class!
Good morning!
Okay, a little more engagement coming. Really try hard. Good morning, class!
Good morning!
Clap once if you can hear me. Clap once if you're ready to learn. Clap once if you're ready to rock. Clap once if you can hear this. Perfect. Nice work. We start with a rhythm because that's where it all begins. Capturing the rhythm within your own individual heart. Because when you're able to capture that, you're able to capture the power of being able to move from attempting to endure your day to being determined, to being tenacious in what you do. So often there is just a thin line between dreaming and planning. A thin line between the light and the dark on the horizon for our students. And that thin line is painted with passion and precision. I had the opportunity to experience this myself in a very real way 8 years ago from the greatest educator I have ever met. It was on the outskirts of Johannesburg, South Africa, where life was not as you and I are accustomed. 40% of the country homeless, 40% of the country HIV positive. The day I landed, I was staying in Pretoria, which is a smaller city outside of Johannesburg, and I remember reading the paper that year alone, 52 police officers had died on active duty in Pretoria. It was July. I was staying with a family that worked for the U.S. Embassy, and though they lived in a very nice community, gated community, felt very safe, when I arrived at the house, they gave me a pager with a red button on it, and they said, if you ever find yourself in a tough spot, men with guns will come if you press this. Not everybody had such luxury. Though it was 16 years after the apartheid, where racial segregation was not the law, it was still the practice. And most people of color ended up living in communities like these, where they still live today. They are called townships, and many people call them home. Within a given structure, you may have somewhere between 10 to 20 individuals living. Limited running water, limited electricity, no sewer systems. The kids that grow up in these townships oftentimes are underfed. They don't know their father, and they don't go to school because they lack the prerequisite skills to enter first grade public education. Their career choices are fight to survive or join a gang. These townships range between the thousands to the hundreds of thousands. And it was in a metropolis of misery such as one of these that I found a shining light. I found Pam. Pam grew up in a township herself, and when it came time in her life to decide what she wanted to do, instead of trying to get out, she decided to give back to her community. She pulled together every resource, every piece of scrap metal, every piece of wood. In the middle of her township, she built a school from the ground up. And that's who I was there visiting. I remember driving through the township, just being crowded with kids and pulling up, and immediately as I got out of my car, I was met with these faces. And though they were priceless, I had to keep my hands in my pockets so that nothing would get taken. We actually had to leave somebody in the car so that no one would steal the car. As I made my way up to the school, there at the front door, I saw Pam with a gleaming face. She was so excited to be able to show me a place where miracles were happening. She took me to the kitchen as I carried the bags of rice. The hallway was lined with little kids eating bowls of rice. She said it was absolutely imperative that each and every one of them show up every day because it was the only way in which they would get a solid meal. She said that they took any kid between the ages of 1 to 6, no questions asked. They showed up at the front door, they had a name, that was the registration process. When we got back to the kitchen, she was sad for a moment because she saw that someone had broken in the night before and stole some supplies by pulling back a little bit of the sheet metal. Sad for a moment, but then she quickly perked up because she remembered she was going to show me a place where miracles were happening. She took me to her classroom and she showed me her kids. And oh, there were kids. Pam's school had 4 teachers, 4 classrooms, 160 students, 1 kitchen, no budget. And this was the size of her classroom, from here to here. But she was able to make it work because the kids, well, they could sing, they could dance. More importantly, they were learning to write their names, they were sounding out letters, they were identifying their colors and their shapes. Despite a significant lack of resources, Pam ensured that every one of her kids got the foundational skills that they needed. Despite the fact that the bathroom was a hole in the floor in the corner of the room, Pam personally was able to make sure that each and every one of her kids, upon graduation from her school, were placed in first grade public education. So what challenge are you facing that is absolutely insurmountable? In education, you're never going to have everything you want in order to support a child. But you will always have everything you need in order to make a difference, because that difference, it starts right here. And when you can get this to drive this, oh, you can do some incredible things. You can't make something out of nothing, but you can do a lot with a little. And that's how Pam taught. How did she teach? Whole group instruction, co-responding. Having the older kids help out the younger kids, incorporating dances and music, pulling in volunteers whenever she could. She made it work. She made it happen. Now, that's not to say that we should settle for the scraps of life. When Pam got the opportunity and asked enough, she got the U.S. Embassy to pay for her to fly over to Boston to receive some sort of formal training on how to be a teacher, and then flew back. She even beat some of our local school districts in getting a fully funded tech levy for her kids. They didn't have running water, but they knew how to use a laptop. Pam was lighting it up for her kids. Through her word, through her action, through her passion. And that light was felt every day when the kids showed up to school. And that's why they thrived. When the worker feels connected, productivity is impressive. I like to call giving someone the home field advantage. In professional sports, here in the U.S., we see this quite a bit. An advantage for teams who feel connected and welcome in the environment in which they're playing. These are the winning percentages of all teams when they're playing home in professional sports. I would say we know all too much about this here in the Puget Sound area, with the Seahawks having won 70% of their games at home since the building of CenturyLink. That home field advantage is felt by the player the moment they walk into the stadium. And it is felt by the student the moment they walk into the schoolhouse. Long before they can ever feel the heat that has been turned on for them, they feel the comforts of a welcoming environment. And that sets the stage for their learning. This is so crucial because every day we ask kids to show up and perform at a very high level. We ask them to meet standards that they've never achieved in their entire life, and to do so in front of a sold-out crowd of their peers. So it is our job to make sure that they do feel welcome, and that welcome is genuine and immediate. That's what starts the home field advantage. That's why in professional sports, before the commencement of a match or a game, before the opening kickoff, opening tip-off, or drop of a puck, for the home team, they just don't announce the starting lineup. They announce the starting lineup! What I haven't told you yet today is in order for you to survive our time here together, you are going to need a little help from a hero. You're going to need some special support. Now, when I got here today, I looked long and hard for a hero, and I found 4 of them amongst you. And this whole piece about needing to make sure people are welcome, this needs to be a part of our practice. If it's something that in fact needs to be a part of our practice, then we in fact need to practice it. And we don't need to wait until tomorrow to practice it because we can start now. So, heroes, the 4 of you which I chose when I first arrived, can you please go stand in the very back of the room for me? We're about to get exciting in here, thank you. For the people sitting on the aisleway here, I need people on the edge here to stand up. You're going to make a tunnel of high fives for them to run through, so please stand up. Individuals sitting on these tables, thank you very much. Very good, very good. Okay, my pyrotechnic, are we out there somewhere, pyrotechnic? Are you there? Yes, yes, she is there. We are high-tech here, folks. We are high-tech. Okay, so for my heroes down at the very end, you're going to run through as I call you out. You're going to receive high fives. You're going to come up over here and stand next to me. Do you guys understand in the back? Yep. Yes, now, something else I want you to understand. We're going to be making a whole bunch of noise for you, right? Yeah. Yes. Okay, you need to give some of that love back. I want to see some attitude. I want to see some Ray Lewis going on here. Do we understand? Is that clear? Is that expectation clear? Absolutely. Okay, perfect. So we have pyrotechnic, lights. You guys ready for high fives? We're going to make some noise for them? Woo! Starting as assistant principal from Auburn Riverside, he's a Ready Green Eagle, Ray Ramirez. Manager from Auburn High, Moxie Smith. Payroll and budget from the business office, Stinky Pinky. And the purchasing coordinator from the business office, he's got socks, Gary. Excellent. Excellent. Are you guys excited? Yeah. Do you have any idea what I'm about to ask you to do? No. Exactly where we want them, folks. That's exactly where we want them. Full of almost near blind ambition.